everyone. Welcome back to the Leap Before You Look podcast, where we are unmastering the art of overthinking, getting out of our heads and into our happy. On today's episode, I have Michelle Gines. It is Gines, right? I'm not saying it wrong. Okay. Michelle Gines, she is an entrepreneur, author, and is recognized as one of the most prominent voices in advocating for women to move mountains. She is a founder and CEO of Purpose Publishing, the independent publishing company serving indie authors, speakers, and change makers across the nation. Leading a global team of experts, Michelle's passion makes her known as being fully engaged, fully present, fully intentional, which I love, when helping making dreams of others come true. Welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic, Kyra, and thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to chatting today. Looking forward to it, so thank you.
No problem. So I do have one question. I'll ask everybody who has like the passion that they have. What was it that made you take the leap to following your passion and also starting your publishing company?
Yeah. You know how they say that necessity is the mother of invention, right? Mm-hmm. And I worked with a young lady back in 2009 to publish my first book. And this is the short version. And with I didn't like the experience 100%. Let me just say that. And so I was like, I have a motto. I have many mottos, but one of them is there's always a more excellent way. And I've been writing, Kyra, since I was a kid. I've been an entrepreneur since we could sell candy bars in the neighborhood. And so I thought, you know what? Hey, what I wanted to do, I wanted to be able to help other people. Like, how can I create a better experience for them? How can we share with them some tools and resources and stuff like that? And I was like, and so I learned as much as I could. Attended a couple of workshops, went to a conference, and just kind of, I'm a information junkie too. So I got a lot of information on what it was I needed to do. And then what happened was it was a lady in my grandfather's church. Because I told him, I was like, you know what? He knew I published. And so he was like, hey, maybe you can help Brunette. She's trying to publish her book. She's got it written, da, 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 da. Anyway, I learned what I needed to learn about the whole publishing process as an independent author. So Brunette ended up being our first client in Purpose Publishing. And the name of her book was called Dream Number 4. And she had a list, and number 4 on her dream list, thing she wanted to do before she died, was to write a book, become an author. And we helped her do it. And we just been doing it ever since. So it was kind of like, it was like, I didn't like the experience I had. I learned how to create the experience and make it better for other people. And we launched and just been doing it ever since. So, yeah.
Okay. I was reading, I was on your site, and then I saw a book. Have you ever seen The Cow with Sneakers on? And I was like, what?
Listen, I do that workshop now, and I call it create your own cows. Create your own wealth are the cows. But yeah, we did that. That was my first book. That was my very first book. Now at the time it was used to inspire kids. Hey, you can do anything that you want to do. You can be anybody that you want to be. Now it might take you some work, but you can do it. And so now I use it as a book for adults to kind of share with them and kind of get them get their juices rolling. Hey, you can create your own wealth. And that's what we do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do know you have a book coming out called Don't Say That. And it's basically about using your words intentionally. And I wanted to talk about that because it's really important, as I found, because I'm like, before I started doing work on myself, I found that I used words. Not necessarily intentionally, but the words were always kind of negative. And I've tried to change that, and I realized how it's changed me on my journey. So I wanted to talk about your book that's coming out, and maybe you can share some tips or your insight on using words intentionally with the audience.
You know what? Absolutely. So this one was This was birthed out of the whole pandemic experience, right? Where I pinned it, but but probably for the past 6, 7 years, I've kind of started doing a lot of research and reading around, kind of the psychology. What are things that we do that sometimes can be self-sabotaging, can be self-limiting, and then also affirming ourselves, affirming other people, especially our spouses and our children. And so we were asked, my husband and I teach Sunday school. Let me do a shout out to Brian, guys. But we were teaching Sunday school, and they asked us to teach on language and the words that we use. And at the time there was a song out by girl, don't let me lie about that man's name, but the song was entitled Speak Life. I cannot tell you right now what the man's name was. And so we titled our class Speak Life. One of the things that we learned, just kind of like I said, in the research and stuff we were doing, was for every negative thing that's said, you need 20 positive things to overcome that one negative. And I was like, you got it, so people, when we're down here digging deep, because there's the psychology of language and the Bible. At the time, it was a Bible class we taught. The Bible says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. I know you've heard that, whether, everybody's heard that be said.
Yeah.
And so it's so true. And so I've been working on, how do we become better? How do we use the right words? How do we use the right language? How do we, because based on the results or the outcomes we want to see in our life? And so, you do it on your own and it's great, and you start to see change and stuff. And then when the pandemic hit and everybody was tucked away and at home, but social media blew up. People went crazy and everybody wanted to say everything that they thought. I mean, those things that you used to just, mama would tell you, everything that comes up doesn't have to come out, girl, listen, everything was coming out. And I saw so many relationships, even some of my own, where I was like, God, I can't believe you just said that. Why we talked about this? Don't y'all remember that class we did, a few years ago? And so I said, you know what? Maybe if I could create a book that gave people a challenge to really work on what they say. And, sometimes people don't hear you when you say, hey, now we're going to talk about, speaking life and we're going to do. I was like, I'm just going to hit them with, don't say that. We are not going to say that. No, don't say that. And so that's just kind of how it evolved. And so it is actually a challenge, a 40-day fast of thinking, a 40-day fast from wrong thinking and wrong speaking. And so the book kind of dives into some of the things that you'll hear people say, statements that people will make. And statements a lot of time are judgments, and judgments become our beliefs. And so everything that we say is kind of from a judgmental kind of a standpoint. Like what I say, this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is what, and it really doesn't give anybody else room. And it doesn't give you as an individual room. Sometimes you need to change some of the stuff that you're saying yourself so that you don't cripple or defeat what you want to happen in your life. And so that's how it kind of came up. That's 40 days of fasting from wrong thinking and speaking. Don't say that.
I remember, don't say that. And it was really interesting the other day. My son's 11 and he's really bad at negative self-talk. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, don't say that. Do not say that. I know, it's
you got to just stop it in its tracks. Otherwise, it just proliferates. And you're like, no, don't, We create the world we live in with the words we say. So it's important that the world that I want to live in, that I speak about it in a way that, hey, I'm going to be satisfied and okay with where we at, with where I'm living. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had conversations with people lately more, and I listen to how they speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like, you know how some people, not to dog the vegans, but you know how people that are vegan, they be like, you have to be vegan. You try to push it off on other people.
Yeah.
I try not to do that, but I'm like, but this gonna help you. So I've been like, could you not say stuff like that? But then I feel like when I'm talking to people and they have these negative sayings or things that are like very repetitive, they say, this is who I am. And it's like, but you can change that.
Right. Yeah. You know what? And here's the thing. When we really look at within, right? There's things about ourselves that we absolutely love. And then there's things about ourselves that we probably do want to change. But if we spend all of our energy defending, keeping words around all these things that I feel like, hey, this is great about me and this is just where I'm at, it makes it very hard to make shifts in those places where you're not exactly what you want to be and where and so language does so much for us. Again, we have the power of life and death. Which one will you choose, for you and for others?
Yeah. So in one of my episodes, I said a phrase that grinds my gears. I used to say this all the time, is it's easier said than done. Because I felt like it was me giving myself a cop out to not try or not to look for a solution to the problem, or more so not try. Because it's like, it's easy for me to say it, but it's like, no, if you actually do it, it might actually be easy too.
Right.
So that's one of the phrases. It's just like, I used to say it all the time, and I'm like, stop saying that.
Yes, don't say that, Kara. You know what? My son was here, over Christmas break, and he had said to me, Mom, I just kind of, I take the hard way things get, I can do hard things. And I'm like, everything doesn't have to be hard. Everything doesn't have to be hard. But if you say, once you put it out there in the air, it's kind of like, oh man, I need to pull that back. But everything doesn't have to be hard. And it can be easier said than done. You just got to rephrase it. And so that's part of what the book is about too. It's like, I don't want to just tell you don't say that, but I want to give you 5 examples of things you can say instead, of why you can say these things instead. And so, because we have to have something. Remember, I was saying that with language in psychology, it is for every negative thing, one negative thing that's said, statement, backhanded compliment or whatever. It takes 20 things. 20 statements to come back and overcome that one word, that one statement that we make. So it's important that we, have something to put in its place. It's not just don't say that and stop talking and you'll never say anything else. It's what do I say instead? Mm-hmm. So, which is important, I hadn't thought about it. And Kyra, you ask me questions. I get to talking, girl. Look, especially about but, it's so important because you said you got a son, and it's so important, like the way that we talk to our children, we begin to see, our children talk to other people that way. And so I remember, how you start using yourself as a guinea pig, kind of checking out, okay, let me see if what I'm saying is resonating, is it rubbing off? And one of the things that I found is, my kids were like, you guys put a lot of pressure on us, like we want to make sure that we was moving the needle and we was, pushing the chains and stuff. I was like, I ain't even a football person. Do I say that? How often do I say that? But I also saw them be able to encourage each other, like when, I've got my two youngest daughters are still in college. One's a junior, one's a freshman. My son graduated a couple years ago. And so I see him, talking to them and saying, hey, you guys are going to be all right. You guys have come a long way. And, just some of the things that he says to encourage them. And then each of them, my middle daughter would encourage my youngest, like, oh, Karis, we were out at dinner the other night and Karis was, because I asked them, this is what I do. All right, what's y'all's goals going back to school? We about to finish this last semester. What are you guys' goals? And so my youngest daughter was like, you know what, Mom, I'm not setting goals. And I was like, what? You ain't setting no goals? And she was like, no. She's like, I'm not setting goals because sometimes if you set a goal and you don't achieve it, then, you kind of feel bad about that, or you feel like I feel like sometimes you can be pressuring yourself to meet this goal. She's like, but instead what I'm doing is building habits. And I was like, okay, tell me more. and she said, I'm just, like I'm waking up a little earlier. She's like, I've started before we gone back, but I'm waking up a little earlier, and she's been walking. And so she has. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, because I really want to kind of really look at my health this year, and I really want to kind of make some focus changes around that. And what I noticed that she had been doing that. She didn't tell me that she was doing, but I just saw her doing it. So I was like, you know what? Okay. Now we ain't setting goals, but we're building habits. But to me, building habits is setting goals because you're changing habits. So I'm like, but that's her language.
Yeah.
That's her language. And it fits and it works. And it's that, and so it's like we've got to leave room for other people to have their perspective. And we've got to have the words that we use that make sense for us and for other people to be able to be who it is that they want to be the best, create the world they want to live in. And so yeah. So it's
That
good.
is really important. And it's really interesting because I was reading something the other day, and it was like the life that you have is based off decisions and actions you've taken at this point. And I'm like, that is so true. I can change where I'm at just by being different and speaking differently to myself. Because I was very I did kind of like what my son does. I'm really trying to shift that.
Yeah.
The negative self-talk, and it's definitely helped me, but then it's like I'm trying to teach him to get out of that space because I don't want him to carry that and then into adulthood. And so I try, and when he does say something, I see that it affects him negatively, emotionally. I can see that it's drained him. Yeah. And so I'm trying to come up with ways to say, okay, how can you change this or come up with a solution? Because he's the type of person that dwells on the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm the person that's every problem has a solution. So let's get to the solution. So it won't affect you like this.
Yeah.
But that's how I was. I was the person that dwelled on the problem. And I'm like, it's so much easier it's easy for us to kind of sit in that space because that's what a lot of us do. Mm-hmm. But now it's I think it brings me more peace and calm and ease when I'm finding the solution, because then I'm going to focus on the negative. So another question that I just thought about was what is something that you find people struggle with? And because you also teach being able to talk positively. What is probably one of the top 2 issues that people have when it comes to changing their own language and using words more intentionally?
Yeah. So probably the biggest thing is that it has become innate. It's just it's who I am. I'm like, oh man. So the first thing that I tell people is, one, start watching, listen to you, just kind of be self-aware of what it is that you say, because anything that we are aware of consciously, we can flip, we can change, we can replace it with something else. And then, and so that it's a challenge, but I would, with them when they're watching or listening to themselves, they are, I'm like, make a little diary, just get you a little quick steno notebook, composition book, 50 cents at Walmart, and just kind of write down, anything that you said where you caught yourself saying something negative or saying something that just kind of came up, so write it down. So being self-aware. It's natural that you do that. You've been operating that way for a long time. So it's natural that you're going to do some things instinctively or say some things instinctively. Pay attention to it. That's number 1. Number 2 is find some affirmations, so figure out some things that you need to say, to yourself every day, and spend a week affirming yourself. That's the first thing you do. I was like, even when you get out of bed, before you even get up, when you open your eyes, how we thank the Lord that he woke us up in the morning, add to that every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And say that 5 times, just repeat it 5 times. And then, but find you some statements that you can use to affirm yourself, because a lot of times we don't have the language to draw from. It's like we haven't put enough in to draw some positive out. So it's kind of, so I would say, even like with our kids now, of course, we don't learn stuff until they older, right? We realize, okay, we should have been feeding y'all some good stuff a long time ago. But we just started, I wish I had this other piece with me, but we talk about just affirming them. So just call, like for him, I would tell you, you know what, just come up with 10 things that are great things about him. And not physical things. So you could add, you got beautiful eyes, beautiful hair. I love your skin. You could add a couple of those, but go a little bit deeper. Like, you are you are so good at being able to solve problems. It's so easy for you to come up with a different way of saying things. Those things that you want to see, come up in him, so that he starts to feel like, oh, I can. I'm a problem solver. I am a solutions guy. You start saying things that sound really big or adult to a kid, where then look, the young man in him starts to rise up, like, you are such a great example for other students your age, or, just those things that are going to make his ears kind of perk up and bring his chest forward and make him smile, so that he begins to see himself and think about himself in the ways that you're fostering and kind of emboldening in him to be better, and not that he's not great already, he's great already, but, you can speak to that part of him that he hasn't learned yet. And when you do that, believe it or not, and it sounds crazy, I've told my friends, I'm like, y'all, I can get really corny. I can get really like super Leave It to Beaver and, go back to the TV show Andy Griffith and the shows we used to watch a long time ago. But I'm telling you, the more of that you can put in and draw out, the better we become at having those tools and those resources that we can then pull from. Because now it'll make him start thinking about, hey, there's other kids that I know that are problem solvers too. There's other kids that I know that, are champions in the classroom, whatever it is. Like whatever those statements are. And we need to hear that. We need to hear good things about ourselves and other people and get in the habit of practicing them, of exercising it. We have to actually do it. And these are things that we say out loud, to ourselves, if you said it to yourself, you in the mirror. You know what, girl, you are all right. You've got a lot of confidence. You've got courage. You are strengthened to do everything that you need to do is already within you. All the things that, the life that you want to have, you can have it. It's there. It's yours for the taking. Just say those things out loud to yourself and to other people. It gets you in the habit, one, of hearing it for yourself, but it also gets you in the habit of saying it for somebody else.
Yes. I'm like, okay. I think that one of the things that I struggled with before I started, because I would do affirmations. It works better for me now, but I struggle with connecting and believing the affirmations. And it could be because of where I was getting it, like Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. So there's this book that I'm trying to see if it's down here on my under my desk. Okay. So Cindy Trim has. Yep. Here it is. Girl, listen. I still use this every morning, but she has so many in here. This book is called Commanding Your Morning. And so I had changed a year ago, I changed my morning routine. And so now my morning routine includes affirmations. And she just got so many in here that just kind of resonate on all different types of levels, things for your, around your family, around your finances, around your building your business and living in that business. It is, taking on the attitudes and characteristics of people who are successful. And so sometimes, because I love the gram and I love Facebook and all the different quotes and stuff that they put out there, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily resonate with me and where I'm at the time, is what I found.
Okay.
And so I was able to kind of, when I seen a whole lot of them, girl, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I need this and I need that and I need this and I need that, and kind of put it together. So let's see, in 2021, gosh, I can't believe the time passes so fast. So in 2021, I did a book called See Yourself to Be Yourself. And it was a 31-day brain fuel devotional. And it was all about activating, these declarations in your life. So it wasn't just saying one, but this is what the declaration is. This is how I expounded on it a little bit. And then at the end of it, this is what you need to say so that you can activate this in your life so that it becomes active. And I got so much good feedback on that one. I did it wasn't a podcast, but I recorded like in a podcast app. And then I had a girlfriend who had a radio show every day. She just took one. So we did 31 days of brain fuel where she just took the activations and people, I got a lot of really good feedback on that. Yeah, it was, but yeah, you just need the right ones for you and at the time that you're in right now.
Okay. Do you find that people struggle with creating their own affirmations? Because it's like, we so used to being in the negative space. How do we change that to be like, I am amazing? Like, when you've been telling yourself you trash for like 3 months.
Exactly. You know what? Yes, people do struggle with that because we don't. You know what? We were talking, me and the kids were talking just the other day about how easy, and I'm going to say in the African American community, but I think it's like this with probably all communities. It goes beyond colors, but it's so easy for us to roast each other. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I mean, if you live in the neighborhood where I grew up, we lived in an apartment complex, lots of kids, lots of different kids, and everybody had their thing that would be the thing that they used to talk about you. And it was like, if you wasn't able to quickly come up with something to rebuttal, you felt bullied. A lot of kids felt completely unempowered, defeated and stuff like that, and you carry that on. And then you become a bully. It's almost like it's easy for you to say negative things, just to deflect off of you. So ain't nobody say, if you say something negative quicker, then you don't have it impact you. But it is very difficult for us to find the right things to say and to affirm ourselves. That is a challenging task, but it makes it easier. It gets you some resources. I tell people, hey, there's nothing new under the sun. Anything that you need, I mean, Google gives you all kind of stuff. You say that you need some affirmations on business building. You need some affirmations on mothering. Whatever it is, you can find it. And you craft a list that's good for you. You ain't got to come up with them. You don't. Somebody already done came up with something that you can use to empower you. So don't worry about having to come up. You ain't got to everybody ain't creative like that.
That's true. Yeah. Because I'm like, how do I, when I first started, I was like, how am I supposed to be nice to myself? I don't understand this.
I know, you know what? And it's so outside of what we are used to doing. Most people, peg themselves as being, humble and not self-promoting and not, putting themselves out there. And sometimes when you feel that way, it makes it where you are actually uncomfortable and you kind of resent people that are comfortable doing that, And so, yeah, girl, you ain't got to come up with it. Get what you need so that you create the arsenal to be who it is that you really want to be, how you really want to be able to show up. So, yeah, I tell people get tools all the time.
I was actually thinking about printing out some motivating quotes and just hanging them around my house. Because I'm not I like abstract art, but I'm not I like words. I'm a writer too, but I do screenwriting. So I just I like to, wall is blank, but I'm trying to put more stuff up that's like motivating and poetry and stuff like that. That's more inspirational. Because I feel like that also feed into myself and my son, us being able to read this on constant.
Yeah. You know what you call that? Making your walls talk.
Okay.
You want your walls to talk to you. Yeah. Yeah. And what will those walls say? And you can absolutely do that. I love it. Girl, print you out a post, do it on your computer, print that thing out, decoupage it on a canvas, so it's like real artwork, but it says exactly what you need it to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
My walls talk too, so it's okay.
Awesome. So, I want to ask, do you have any upcoming events or I know you have a book coming out. Don't say that. Do you have anything else coming up that we should be looking out for?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the Don't Say That book and challenge that comes out in February. And my husband and I did a project. It is called Simply Pray, and it's like a devotional, but it's affirmations, so you can affirm your husband, the husband can affirm the wife, and both of you can affirm your children. And then it also has prayers in there. So like prayers that we've used for different points of time in our lives. And so we're going to do for Valentine's Day, we're doing a love lunch and learn that we're going to do. And so we're going to make that available. I will send you the link, and so you guys can check it out. And then in April, I'll be speaking at the Kept Woman of God conference. That's April 14th and 15th. It'll be in Kansas City, Missouri, but it'll also stream live. So I will send you the information for both of those so that you guys can be looking for it. And you can always check me out at michelleguines.online. So it'll have all the dates and things of what I've got going on as well.
Okay, you said that michelleguines.online. Where else could we find you? Like on Instagram? We said you like the gram and Facebook.
Okay, so on Instagram it's Mentor Me MG, and oh my God, it's just this. So I've got this amazing Facebook group that we are calling, and I just have started kind of maneuvering with it, but it's called Reimagine You University, so YOU University, and so that group, we're just kind of talking about, I'm sharing in there just different things. Your life can be exactly what you want it to be. You can reimagine it. It doesn't have to be, like my husband and I literally, June of 2021, we took our kids on a vacation to Miami. June of 2022, we were living in Tampa. And I'm telling you, the process of how that happened in terms of, just work and business and how it just kind of moved, and you can reimagine what you want your life to be like. And all you got to do is say it, but you have to decide. You've got to answer the question, what do I want? And so that's a group of women entrepreneurs that are just like pushing, and it's a community to help each other get to that reimagined life. And so you can catch me. So Reimagine University is a group on Facebook, and then you can go to Mentor Me MG on Instagram.
Okay. And what about your publishing company?
Oh, publishing.
You got to plug that.
PurposePublishing.com for those who are writing, who have that book. I believe everybody has a book in there, at least one. But Purpose Publishing, we help you get your books done so that you can have all the royalties. You can have your book out there the way that you want to. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, your book shouldn't just be a book. It should be either a challenge. It should be a course. It should be a workshop. It's not just for, hey, read it once and do it. I believe you got to exercise all that you have read. So yeah, it's like, oh my God, it sounds like I got all kind of stuff going on right now.
all the greatness.
It's gonna be so
awesome. Yeah. I like reading books that have action steps because it pushes me to use what I'm learning. Yeah. Because I've read books that it's like, but the ones that push me to use what I'm learning, I love those.
Yeah. Me too. So do I. Absolutely. I'm with you, girl.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Leap Before You Look podcast. And I hope I can have you back on soon.
Absolutely. Anytime. Just you let me know, and I'm more than happy to come on and share